Hi everybody, so it's me Megha again. How are you all? And hope so you're having a great day. And so I'll just wait for a few people to join in and then I'll be introducing our guest for today. So our guest for today is a very special person. His name is Nikhil Taneja and he's the co-founder of We Are Yuvaa. Plus, he's also the part of Global Advisory Board of Gates Foundation. It's truly our honor to have him today with us, and I'm just going to bring him live. Hey, hi.
Hi, Mika. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You don't need to call me sir. You can call me Nikhil.
Good. So, hi, Nikhil. First of all, you are an inspiration for me because I've been reading about you, and you are a producer, writer, and whatnot. And I've been reading your journey. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. Am I audible? Should I go on earphones? Let me just.
I think you're audible. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Great. So, should we start?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Great. So, I want to know first of all, how was your day today?
It was. That's a great question to begin with. Um, Not bad, I think, all things considered. I mean, it's. I kind of. You read the news and you know how bad the situation is everywhere in the world, and उसके बाद anything that you kind of go through, even if you, while it is valid, even mental health wise, whether you go through things from a career perspective, you kind of always end up feeling grateful that at least I'm at a place where I have food, I have internet, I have a house, I have a roof over my head. So yeah, I can't ever say that I'm doing badly at this time. But you have ups and downs even then.
You're grateful.
How are you? How are things with you?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it was a good day. Since all the schools are
Glad to
closed,
hear that.
yes. So my first question to you is, since I've been reading about VR Yuva, I want to know that what is VR Yuva and what is it exactly doing and what is your vision for VR?
So Yuvaa is a youth media platform. The intent of starting it was that I just felt that I used to be working with Yasha Films earlier. I was heading content and development for something called Y Films, which is the youth wing of Yasha Films. And we made a bunch of web shows. I made shows like Bang Baja Barat, Ladies Room, Man's World. So we made a bunch of socially conscious shows. And I would always kind of feel that while we do socially conscious, while I was working on socially conscious content in my life, uh, we've never had like an actionable next step. हमने जेंडर इक्वालिटी पे कुछ किया, उसके बाद क्या? हमने एक ट्रांसजेंडर राइट्स पे कुछ किया, उसके बाद क्या? हमने पेरेंट एंड चिल्ड्रन गैप के ऊपर कुछ किया, उसके बाद क्या? So I always kind of felt that while most of our youth platforms are one way, and that's how typically films and content generally works, right? Like creators create it and then put it out in the world, and people consume it. And I always we need to have content that could possibly be, uh, two-way communication, which would engage with young people, which would listen to young people, which wouldn't just be about putting my point across, but also kind of listening to their point and making young people feel heard in what they're going through. So Yuva was really created as that organization that would listen to the stories of young people. So over the last 2 years, we have gone to over 100 colleges across the country. We've gone to over and we have listened to enormous number of stories of young people, and yeah, and we hope to create a safe space both online and offline for young people to express themselves.
So I want to know, since you have been interacting with a lot of young, I have, since me being a youth leader, I have felt that people tell me that you're too young or you cannot start a venture, do a job or think. What's your message for all the youngsters who want to start their own venture and when society tells them that, yeah,
So I ये हमारी सोसाइटी के ना बहुत टाइम से इशू है कि जो ना हम सारी सोसाइटी our society kind of is aimed at getting young people to follow the rules of the society and of the patriarchy that has been created, because you're not allowed to question things in our society because एक हम लोगों ने system create कर दिया है जहाँ पर the only voices that should be heard are either of older people. तभी बोलते हैं बड़ों की इज्जत करो, कोई ये नहीं कहता सबकी इज्जत करो, और सिर्फ बड़ों की इज्जत करो, सोचो, and or the other thing that, the only other voices that I heard are of people who've already achieved something, and I think that's a really that's really sad that we kind of don't give the respect that young people deserve, that even just because they are younger, just because they may not have the kind of life experience that older people do, does not mean that their emotions are not valid, their feelings are not valid, what they want to do with, and the energy that they have and the thought process they have that are not valid. And I think we need to change this a little bit, especially I think the young person of today. पहले तो मैं खुद ही बोलता हूँ, आई थिंक जब मैं when I was growing up as a millennial, I admit that I don't think I was as smart as people who are older to me, because उस टाइम मेरे पास information भी नहीं थी, उस टाइम मेरे पास internet नहीं. I mean, I've seen the internet happen in front of my eyes. So I don't think I was as smart as a young person as the average even 12 to 13-year-old today. I think I have only started becoming smarter in my 20s. Whereas I think even a 14-year-old, 15-year-old today has just so much knowledge and understanding of the world because they have access of the internet. So I feel that we need to understand that this is a new generation of young people. They have access, they have awareness, they care about things, and it's very important that we give them the same respect that we give older people. Just because you are young does not mean that you don't deserve to be heard, or the things that you want to do are not valid just because you are young.
I really appreciate your this point because I strongly believe that young people are not the future, but they're also the present of our country. And
Absolutely, absolutely. I would
thank
any day trust a young person with the country than I do older people.
you on from young generation to children. Since we are
Yeah,
here to work specifically on child sector. Before
yeah,
starting, I don't know how was your childhood? Like, I think you were brought up in Lucknow. Like, how was the
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I spent the first 7 years of my life in India, and then uske baad I was in the Middle East. I was in Dubai and then Bahrain. Bahrain is still my home, so to speak. My parents still live there. They've lived there for about 25 years now, and so I've been very fortunate to have a childhood where I mean, I would say the first 7 years of my life were years where we were still trying to come off means. And uske baad, I think once my father shifted, he was in a banking position. Once he shifted abroad, we started having a little bit of, income in the house. And yeah, otherwise, I, I've pretty much been raised by my mother. My father has been absent, like a lot of our fathers typically were in our society. Again, I think, and as I grew older, I recognized that probably the reason that he was just so caught up in work is also because of the way that we burden men and women differently. We tell the men to go out and work and just kind of spend all your time in making money and not spending any of that time with your family. Whereas we tell the woman that तुम्हें काम बाहर नहीं करना, सिर्फ घर पे काम करना है, तुम्हारा काम है फैमिली रेज करना या बच्चे बड़े करना. Which so I'm very actually grateful that my mother was a homemaker and her full-time job was raising her kids, because I don't think I would have turned out to be empathetic if she wasn't who she was and if she didn't care about us as much as she did. But I do feel that a lot of us people have been robbed of having time with our fathers because of again the way patriarchy works.
exactly? And I want to know how was your relationship with your mother? Like, were you able to talk about topics such as birth, happiness, what like that? That's
Yeah, yeah,
not good. So
my mother's damn cool. So she was always kind of a friend. So she would in fact encourage me to make a girlfriend. He's like, why don't you have a girlfriend? You are so old now. I used to, I mean, I started wearing spectacles again during the pandemic, but I used to be wearing contact lenses. She was the person who said, get a cool haircut. तेरे बाल, इतने चंपू वाले बाल क्यों हैं तुम्हारे? And why don't you get contact lenses and be cool. So I would just be like, my mom is throwing shade at me constantly. But yeah, she was very sweet growing up, and really friendly. And, because I would, as I said, me and my brother have spent pretty much all our time with her growing up. Um, I do think that there were larger societal issues that we couldn't really speak of. So, for example, the career I wanted to take, or the hobbies that I had, or what I wanted to do in my life, those were not really discussions that we had growing up. Because my mother was like, I think all mothers, she was very determined कि मुझे engineering बनना है या फिर मुझे इतने पैसे कमाने हैं, because for our parents, again, you later realize that they feel that we will be happy if we will be successful in a field they understand. I don't think they understand that perhaps our success and happiness can come from the things we love doing and are passionate about, far more than us getting success or happiness in something they understand or that is popular, like engineering, like medical, etc. So I did have a bit of an uncomfortable relationship with her when I was growing up after I went to college, because I wanted to pursue what I wanted to pursue. But again, I'm very fortunate over the last 5, 7 years, we have mended it, and she is my biggest strength, I would say. Yeah.
Because it's very nice fun. You have for a lot of children, it's like childhood is not a safe place for them. And when we
Yeah.
talk in terms of sexual violence, it is
Yeah.
only 94.8% sexual known person. So it can be a neighbor,
Yeah.
it can be friends, in most of the cases, parents also, or mama, mommy, it can be anything. So, but as you have also seen in our society, that whenever a rape happens or a sexual abuse case happens with the child, we make a hue and cry for like 2 days, 3 days. We do parade, a lot of things, but after that, everybody forgets about it. And
Hmm.
we ask the government to make stringent laws, but I think it's not. So, what's your take on this?
I'm glad you brought this up, because it's, I was, so when I went across the country, for the roadshow, it was shocking to me. I mean, I don't even know if I can say it is shocking, because I have always known that, um, we haven't been able to create safe spaces for young people in our country. But I did not know the extent to which, this is true. So, for example, almost in every college, or every second college, we would find um, instances and stories of young people speaking about how they've been abused when they were younger. And as you said, a lot of it was from their family. So there was a shame, or there was, a worry about whether or not they should be able to, whether they'll be able to talk about it to anybody, and nobody kind of took it seriously. So they had a lot of trauma inside of them. They had a lot of pain inside of them. Uh, a lot of sometimes, and many times it has happened in our sessions, where young people have spoken up and said, "This is the first time I'm talking about what I went through, and I've never ever had, an opportunity to speak my story." And so much of this is again because we suppress our, एक तो इतना shame है, in our country, the onus of shame is always on the person who has been a
Want
victim versus the person who is the perpetrator, which is just the weirdest thing that I've just never been able to understand it, कि अगर तुम्हारे साथ कुछ हुआ है, it's always as if you are responsible for what happened, no matter your age. And this goes up to even like older people, if something is gone wrong. And that's just sad, because we are so afraid of keeping face in society. मुझे अपनी शक्ल मैं किसी को शक्ल कैसे दिखाऊंगा, मेरा नाक मेरी नाक कट जाएगी, या मेरा, whatever, all kinds of archaic thought processes, where you are so afraid of how society will perceive you, that you are not able to provide safe spaces for your own family, or able to understand them in a way. So I mean, I do hope that we as a society start mending this, and start creating more safe spaces, so young people don't feel afraid of talking about what they've gone through with their own parents.
exactly. I think the point is same self, not just about college student feeling about this. I remember there was this 9-year-old girl, like after our workshop, she was told us that अपनी mama को she was actually raped. She told me that I told my mom, and my mom told me that तू भी तो ऐसी है. And this was a statement which was being said to
Wow.
girl. So it was an eye opener for me कि बहुत कुछ करना बाकी है. So I also want to know, like, you must have heard about the Me Too campaign. There was
Yeah.
this campaign also which was starting. But we
Yeah.
believe time is not far away when a children to campaign will start if we don't start working on preventing sexual violence. If we don't start
Mm.
our mindset about this issue. So, what's your
Mm.
take?
You know, I I agree with you, and I am again, the problem with our society is everything is so systemic. We are so afraid of uncomfortable conversations as a society that हम बात इन या तो फिर explosion होता है बातों का या फिर जो है ना बातें दब जाती हैं. So it is always in an extreme that we behave. या तो सब बात करेंगे बोलेंगे हाँ अब इसके बारे में बात होगी and then anything is happening, all anger and all outrage comes out at one time. Otherwise, it's completely suppressed and you just don't talk about anything at all. And so much of this is also because again when we raise our children, we don't allow them to express what they feel enough. Even we tell our boys that कि तुम आदमी हो, तुम तो you तुम क्या करोगे, you are आदमी, you have to be man, you have to be strong, you have to keep everything inside of you. And when it's a girl, it is the girl is said तुम तो लड़की हो, तो तुम्हारा तुम क्यों, nobody even wants to hear your opinion. So both genders are kind of burdened with this idea of patriarchy where nobody is allowed to express. And until we allow for genuine expression and allow for spaces to have uncomfortable conversations, you will realize that these conversations actually lead to catharsis. They don't remain uncomfortable if they get out in the public. If you speak up about what you have gone through, there's a good chance that you get catharsis, and a good chance that the person at the other end understands and empathizes with you a lot more, and the world kind of genuinely becomes better. Connections, bonds become stronger, connections become stronger, and we need to allow for these safe spaces. We need to allow for expression to happen without uh, getting so afraid of judgment.
Absolutely. I think it is so much needed that people can express themselves without. So I was reading about your campaign, the Kindness Project, where I think people were sharing about the Kindness Act, were traveling to colleges, states. So it will be good to tell more about what that and what is it exactly.
So the kindness project was something that so I used to be a professor in a college in Bombay. So on the weekends I used to teach. So weekdays I used to be a content creator, and on the weekends I used to teach at a college called Jain College in Mumbai. And I realized, I mean, I was teaching journalism. I was actually teaching news reporting, but I started realizing that so many of these young people that I was teaching had so much that was going. There's so much. See, I have realized, Megha, that every young person has something they want to say, but कोई सुनने वाला नहीं है. You know, all young people have something they want to express and put out into the world, but nobody really genuinely wants to listen. And in my class, so I started creating these safe spaces. Because I think it was also because I was not much older to them when I started out, or perhaps because I started realizing that as a teacher I should also learn, or as a teacher I shouldn't just talk, I should also listen. So a lot of young people started expressing themselves to me, and it led to a safe space that we created called uh, you know uh, the kindness project, which we kind of gave it as a physical project where every young person at the end of the semester in our class would come and express and tell out their story, whatever it is that they have gone through, any one thing about their life. And the idea was that we should stop having everyone judge us, that people kind of have this opinion of us, but that opinion comes from judgment without really knowing the story that this person kind of has. And if we create safe spaces where young people are allowed to tell their stories without the fear of judgment, and if they are given the respect of being heard, it will lead to catharsis. It will get them to speak up. It will get the world, I mean, like, empathy to sort of go around. And it would work. I mean, we created these safe spaces, and so many young people spoke up about the things that they have gone through, and it was absolutely stunning and absolutely beautiful. It has changed me as a person, I would say. There are my one of my proudest moments in life is when a young student of mine chose my class to come out to the world as bisexual. Because he said that I don't think I will ever find a safe space like this. And then we kind of decided, when I started Yuvaa, the idea was, what we are doing in this one classroom, can we scale it to different campuses across the country? And so the last 2 years, we've tried to create these safe spaces in over 100 colleges. and young people have spoken up. It's been absolutely beautiful listening to them. And yeah, and I genuinely feel that if we kind of uh, lead with listening, if we lead with empathy, if we start, creating spaces filled with kindness, our world can genuinely become a much better place than it is right now.
Absolutely. Is there any story which actually touched you? I और आपने बहुत सारी stories पर ऐसा होता है
Yeah,
आपको stuck कर जाती है ऐसी
yeah.
किसी
There are many such stories. So it's interesting. Actually, the first story was the first ever thing, and I remember this is day one of our roadshow, and I gave a session, spoke about safe spaces, spoke about labels, spoke about how again, patriarchy में हम एक दूसरे को अपने आप पे labels डाल देते हैं कि मैं इस टाइप का लड़का हूँ, मैं इस टाइप की लड़की हूँ, and हम लोग believe कर जाते हैं उसके बाद ना, and we don't really we hide our true selves, so to speak. We're very uncomfortable with we're so afraid of judgment that we can't speak up. And after this talk, there was a young boy who heard it and who started crying. At the end of it, and I was quite surprised because this he was like a well built, tall young boy, and it wasn't just me who was surprised. I would see that all his friends around him or all his classmates also seemed very shocked. कि ये कैसे रो रहा है? And so I asked him, I said, what happened? And he said, you are right. As you said about labels, I have also been given a label. And that label is, in fact, I agree to it. That label is a bully. I have been a bully. I have bullied other young people, and I'm very ashamed of it. But I want everyone to know that I'm actually a good person inside. But yes, I have to admit that I'm a good bully. And then I asked him, अगर तू जानता है तू, why do you bully? And he then said something which, I don't know, it just broke my heart at that time. He says that he says when he was younger, he was molested by his father's best friend, and since then he's not been able to express himself to anybody, and he decided that before anybody else can hurt him, he will hurt people before, and that's why he became a bully. You know, and I mean, this story did not just end there because when he spoke up, he was crying, and then I said, "But I'm so glad you could say this." He said, "This is the first time ever in his life he has said this out to anybody." And he says, "I'm feeling so good." So I kind of said that, of course, you should, get professional help at this point. Reach out to a therapist. It's very important. And also, whenever you're ready, you should tell your parents. And then the most beautiful thing happened when he said that, what, I think I'm ready. I want to tell my parents. I said, yeah, whenever you want, go for it. He said, no, I want to go right now. And I said, okay. So in the middle of the class, he kind of just got up and he's like, I'm going. And I said, okay, go for it. And this boy went. And before going, I gave him a hug. I said, love you, man. Best of luck. And I'll tell you what happens. At the end of the day, he sent me a message on Instagram, a DM on Instagram saying that he finally told his parents what he went through. And he heard the words from them that he's been waiting to hear all his life. And those words were, it's not your fault. So, and I was just like, dude, I can't even believe this has happened. And this was day one of our roadshow. And there are so many more stories. In fact, this boy has become a very close friend now. And he later told me that, when I said I love you to him, I'm the first person in his entire life to have said that to him. He says, nobody in my life has said I love you to me. Nobody has given me a hug. And you kind of hear these stories and then you realize, matlab, not just what is going on with our young people, but what is happening in our society. मतलब हमारी हमारी कंट्री के अंदर हमको अंडरस्टैंडिंग ही नहीं है क्या चल रहा है सो आई एम thanks Trisha sorry Trisha has just commented um, but I am Trisha Shetty, by the way, for anybody on the live, please follow her. She's an amazing, amazing activist and works so hard to kind of uplift human rights of like everyone, especially women. She's a star. But yeah, I mean, I've started mega realizing that there are so many things that so many young people in our country have gone through, and unfortunately, we have not done enough to hear these stories, and that's the larger mission of me and Yuva as well. How do we put these stories out? How do we kind of make young people feel less alone in whatever they are going through?
I think it's absolutely amazing. I don't have words to express. इतना अच्छा लग रहा है अ, आपने बहुत सही बात बोली कि शायद यंग लोग हम लोग सुनते हैं तो
Correct.
a point to be noted. The last thing that I want to say that any last message that you like to all the parents or like what we do to ensure that children are safe or anything. This
Your voice is breaking a little bit. I couldn't hear the question.
So I'm saying that any last message that you would like to give out to parents out there, or what can parents do to ensure children are safe?
So I would again, I think, I have started realizing, and it's true in almost every experience I've had in my life with any relationship, and particularly with young people. We need to start with listening. हमारी कंट्री के अंदर of course everyone wants to talk, like everyone has something they want to say, and a lot of it right now is about opinions. When you think about it, हम लोग we are अभी इंटरनेट आ गया, सबको अपने opinions बाहर डालने हैं, सबको कुछ ना कुछ कहना है, बट हम सुनते नहीं है, हमने सुनना बंद कर दिया. And even when we are listening more from a perspective of listening to respond versus listening to hear and understand. So I think we need to change and I think older people and especially parents, we need to specifically change our behavior in conversations and start with listening. We need to, even as something as simple as how are you, you know meaningfully. We don't ask how are you in a perspective of actually wanting to know how the other person is. It's always a social construct. How are you? I'm fine. Okay, why? Chalo, theek hai. I'll move on with my day. You move on with your day. So unless we start, everyone should want to talk, but unless we start listening, we will not have stories out there because सबको अगर बोलने सुनने वाला कौन होगा. But अगर लोग सुनने शुरू कर दें, there's a good chance that after you listen, the person that who has spoken to you will also want to listen to you. And I have felt and seen and heard and understood that starting with listening and leading with listening has been has genuinely brought so much love, empathy, and catharsis in people. Yeah, let's hopefully try that. And if parents can do that, I think young people will also feel very supported and heard.
थैंक दैट्स अमेजिंग आई थिंक ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है जो आपने रेज करा है कि हमें सुनने की जरूरत है यूथ को यंग जनरेशन को आई थिंक एवरीबडी एंड इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट कि हम अपनी वल्नरेबल साइड भी लोगों के साथ शेयर करें विद द राइट पीपल जैसे कि उस जने ने आपके साथ शेयर करा एंड प्रोवाइड सेफ स्पेसेस टू यंग जनरेशन. So there are a lot of people who are messaging. There's this message by Swati saying that inside every culprit there's a victim. Then there's this message by Ridhima. True safe spaces are very rare, but so important. She's a student, and there was a message by Vibhuti. Ishan is asking that does educational qualification, particularly degree, help you to lead the Voix films, or were you artistically inclined?
No, I'm an engineer by profession. By degree, sorry, by degree, I'm an engineer. Like all cliche young boys of my age, or young boys who became men of my age. So I did computer engineering, and उसके बाद वही होता है ना, हमारी कंट्री में तो यही है कि पहले इंजीनियरिंग खत्म कर लो, उसके बाद तुम्हें जो करना करना. So उसके बाद I started building my career in the media industry, and took me about 5 to 6 years before I could reach Y Films and Yasha Films, and yeah, got worked really hard to get there. Very fortunate to get that opportunity.
Yes. And is there any quote or any song that you resonate with?
Any song that I resonate with, any quote. There's a quote that I really love, and I went through a bunch of anxiety. I mean, I have anxiety overall, but it was very bad when it started 2 3 years ago. So there was a quote that kind of helped me, and I always kind of uh, remember that as much as I can. The quote says, "The sun will rise, and we will try again." And for me, I think there's a lot of hope in this, because I feel that every day, we kind of get very overwhelmed by our bad days, and don't appreciate our good days enough. And it's just beautiful that the day is going to end, and the sun will rise again. That is the one thing that doesn't stop. No matter चाहे pandemic हो जाए, चाहे कुछ हो जाए, the sun continues to rise, and every single day, and that's another opportunity for us to try again. So I find that very hopeful as a thing. Among songs, I mean, there are different songs at different stages, but there's this one old song that I keep going back to, which has some beautiful lyrics. It's a Devanand song, Kishore Kumar Devanand song, that says, "हम है राही प्यार के, हमसे कुछ ना बोलिए, जो भी प्यार से मिला, हम उसी के बोलिए." And within that, there's just such beautiful quotes about uh, धूप ही मिली हमें, धूप में लिया है दम, चांदनी मिली तो हम चांदनी में सो लिए. And I just find that as such a beautiful philosophy, right? Like, you
Yes,
take it, as someone also mentioned, you take it every day as it comes, and you kind of live life in that manner versus, I think, getting too overwhelmed by life. So yeah, I
exactly.
just find that really hopeful. That, every day there is going to be a new day, and
Hmm.
no matter how bad things get today, tomorrow we can try again.
Exactly. And if people like you are here, there is always hope in life. Like the world
That's
will be
very
a better
kind of you,
place.
Megha. You've been doing some great work with your organization, so I really hope we need more young people like you. I still feel that I have come to the place that I wanted to be much later in life. Took a lot of data. Thanks, Abhishek. Very kind of you. But there are young people like you who are purpose driven even at your age, and that's what we need more of. We need you, all of you, to go after your dreams. We need all of you to kind of make the world a better place, because from what I see, old people are ruining it. so so
Actually,
please help us.
I've met such people, like even people at government positions, like top government positions, and I was
Yeah,
like, why are we not doing such basic things? And they were like, madam, आप कर सकते हो तो कर लो जाके. So मैंने कहा ठीक
why
है, it's okay, कोई नहीं
why
कर रही है.
I'm glad you're doing it, and I hope more young people follow in your footsteps and go after their passion and try and make the world a better place. And that's the only way it'll change. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise, no idea what's going to happen.
There's this message by Ishita. She's saying that what inspires you to do all the amazing work that you do?
Uh, I, d- I don't look at the work that I do as amazing work. Uh, I am driven by, as I said, I think a few years ago, I realized that if there's a philosophy, I'm not a very religious person, but I realized if there's a philosophy that I wanted to get attracted, which really made sense to me, it was the philosophy of kindness. And all my, and the other thing that genuinely, uh, I have found inspirational, and because of my teaching, is young people. So I have always figured out ki how can I kind of combine what I care about, kindness, and in the people that I care about, and how can I combine this and use my strengths as a storyteller to do. So it's these three things that I kind of always look at in whatever I do. How can I combine my understanding of young people, my passion for storytelling, and my philosophy of kindness to do whatever I can to make whatever little impact I can, because I think everybody kind of needs a purpose in their life, and I feel that this is my purpose. Again, so much of this has come from my teaching. I think teaching inspired me to be a better person, and I would recommend that to everyone. But if you're becoming a teacher, teach not to just teach, teach to learn. Teach not to just talk, teach to listen, and it'll change your life.
Yes, amazing. So Ishan is saying that you're an inspiration for our team of change makers.
Thank you,
Yes,
very
we
kind of
yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking our time, and it was truly wonderful to have a conversation with you and listen to
Thank you,
your
Nita.
stories. And thank you,
That's
just
very kind.
thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much. Very kind of you, and wish you the best for your organization. I really hope to see you bringing actual change that our country really needs.
yes, we will. And thank you. So there's this message by King. He's saying that so good to hear you, sir.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so
That's
much. Have a
Kingshuk.
good.
That's my friend.
That's your friend.
Hope you're doing
Oh,
well. But yeah,
great.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
You
Cheers.
too. Bye bye.
So, guys, this was Nikhil with us, and he's the co-founder of the Yuvaa. It was amazing to have him, and after hearing his stories, literally, I have goosebumps in my hands. इतना अच्छा लगता है कि he's doing such amazing work for the young people, and it's high time that we start listening to the young generation because we are always talking, we are always raising our voice, but it's time that we listen to them also. And you can also volunteer with our organization. If any of you want to volunteer and work on child sexual abuse prevention, always reach out to us. You can drop us a message, and if you want to know ways to start the conversation with your child, with your cousins on child sexual abuse prevention, drop us a message. We are always there for you, and let's ensure that childhood is a safe place again. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Tonio, for joining us from Ladakh, and lots of love. Take care.